1 Introduction RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the eco-design wood stove, and international convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View. Purple air PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary. Episode 57 DT February 28, 2025. Predictably, Trump and Vance loudly rebuke Zelensky in Oval Office. In episode 57 DT1, predictably, Trump and Vance loudly rebuke Zelensky in Oval Office. 1 United States. Trump and Vance loudly rebuke Zelensky in Oval Office. RAWSEP View will attempt to take a comedic point of view in homage to the heroic President Zelensky. RAWSEP View. Trump and Vance, the bumbling duo, incompetent and perhaps improbably vainly attempting to resemble the at least trim figure of their hero Putin, attempted to shake down Zelensky for the mineral rights to his country, a pear-shaped. Trump waddled into the elongated egg-shaped room, which Trump apparently views as prime real estate because it has the name oval like the Trump shape, and Trump sat down as if on a toilet, his usual position. A fat-faced Vance primly assumed a position in L shape away from the wannabe mafia boss. Trump Vance had another chance to speak in front of cameras despite press disinterest after his embarrassing but predictable display of subservience to Putin and to Nazis everywhere when Vance was in Europe. Last week the press was present but apparently did not catch all the dialogue to come because Trump wheezes rather than speaks through grotesquely pursed lips, and Vance bursts a blood vessel in the midst of most Vance attempts to eject words from between his protruding fat cheeks. Trump swayed back and forth with head down, at most times with his hands grotesquely bruised by his self-abusive hand-wringing over how he is viewed as an evil person, which he makes no attempt to hide. Sorry for the comparison with a character actor who had many sides and some talent, but Trump resembles no one so much as the villain Lionel Barrymore played in the film It Is a Wonderful Life. Trump was tied to but swaying back and forth in his chair as if in a wheelchair, although apparently able-bodied enough to tilt on his lifts when standing and hunch into a room. But Trump has curves that Lionel Barrymore could only hope for in that age of material deprivation of World War II. However, the character played by Lionel Barrymore at least was grifting off the United States Army in It Is a Wonderful Life, and Trump is outrageously out of touch with, in addition to being traitorous to the United States and to the traditional allies of America in democratic Europe. In this, the most dramatic role of the Trump unwonderful life, the drama for him comes when there is no attention paid. Attention must be paid, although the real people he demands to be paid attention from are his undeserving victims. That is to say, the victims of Trump are undeserving of how he treats them with outsized cruelty and vengeance for imagined slights, which only underline the pettiness and small-mindedness of this outsizedly stupid but inexplicably rich man. Did Trump watch It Is a Wonderful Life and go on to make his first million by stealing real estate-related bank deposits from the poor each New Year's Eve in the 1970s? Perhaps since he is a fabulist and would think he was in his greatest fantasy life if he could be a supervillain like Putin, or looking back to the teachings of his villainous mentor Roy Cohn, be an all-American supervillain of the mafia variety like Al Capone, or in the most exciting fantasy Hannibal Lecter. Did Hannibal Lecter demand thanks from his victims before he killed and ate them? Only superfans of Hannibal Lecter can answer that question, and the editor of RAWSEP is not a fan of Hannibal Lecter or his acolyte Trump. It is lucky that the editor of RAWSEP has never been invited to the Oval by Trump, although the editor of RAWSEP did see the Oval as a tourist and was not bowled over by the aesthetics of that real estate. Sorry, Trump, and I have never thanked Trump for anything, but quite the opposite. I reveal my hand as ungrateful for the undeserved problems Trump has caused me. Just as an average American in the line of stupid Trump fire, as all Americans have been since he came on the political scene in 2015, Zelensky is the real deal, a real hero, and a real leader who pursues truth and justice and the Ukrainian way, and in the process is protecting the democracies of Europe and the world from some of the most depraved actions of Putin and his apparent henchmen Trump and Vance. The look of them all is small, although incredibly Trump and Vance look smaller and smaller all The time the comedy is in the exaggerated shouting of Trump and Vance as if they finally have their close-up and do not want to waste it by looking like normal human beings. Trump and Vance want to look like true actors with lying lines they know by heart, like the fate of the character of Norma Desmond in the film Sunset Boulevard. I would like to live to see Trump put in his natural environment of the loony bin at the end of this farce. And I wish all the people of Ukraine and all the good people of the democratic countries of Europe will one day see the proper straitjacket put on this evil man Trump. But first, I suppose the press needs to document the idiocy down to the last syllable shouted by the two fat men. It is not over until the fat ladies sing badly. As the saying goes off kilter, as usual in a Trump universe. To be serious for a second, every word Zelensky said was true, and truth burns the skin off. Vampires looking to shake down the lifeblood of Ukraine. One from the New York Times. Article reported in real time by various reporters. Trump points his finger at President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine and appears to be shouting while sitting in front of the Oval Office fireplace. Zelensky, sitting next to him, is gesturing and watching Trump. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. A meeting between Trump and President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine in the Oval Office turned fractious on Friday, February 28, 2025. Tempers flare and voices are raised in an extraordinary televised encounter. Trump and J.D. Vance loudly berated President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine on Friday in an explosive televised shouting match unlike any seen in the Oval Office between an American president and foreign leader in modern times. Trump and Vance castigated Zelensky for not being grateful enough for U.S. support in its war with Russia and sought to strong-arm him into making a peace deal on whatever terms the Americans dictate. With voices raised and tempers flaring, Trump threatened to abandon Ukraine altogether if Zelensky did not go along talking over the Ukrainian leader. Vance told Zelensky that it was disrespectful for him to come to the Oval Office and make his case in front of the American news media, and demanded that he thank Trump for his leadership. Trump jumped in and told the Ukrainian leader, "You are not really in a good position right now, and that you are gambling with World War III. You are either going to make a deal or we are out." Trump added, "And if we are out, you will fight it out, and I do not think it is going to be pretty." Minutes after the meeting ended, Trump seemed to call off the rest of the Zelensky visit. "I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations," he wrote. On social media, "I do not want advantage, I want peace." He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. The Zelensky black SUV was waiting outside the West Wing amid expectations that he would soon be leaving. The exchange in front of television cameras was one of the most dramatic moments ever to play out in public in the Oval Office, and underscored the radical break between the United States and Ukraine. Since Trump took office, Trump has effectively sided with Russia while falsely blaming Ukraine for starting the war and calling Zelensky a dictator. The Zelensky hurriedly arranged visit to Washington on Friday was meant to smooth over the rift and seal an agreement demanded by Trump in which Ukraine would hand over many billions of dollars worth of mineral rights to repay military aid provided by President Joseph R. Biden Jr. and Congress over the 3 years since the full-fledged invasion by Russia into Ukraine in 2022. Trump seemed ready to make nice with Zelensky by telling reporters on Thursday that he did not remember the dictator comment. In expressing respect for the Ukrainian leader, he welcomed Zelensky at the door of the West Wing on Friday morning with an honor guard, and they shook hands politely, but without evident warmth. The encounter, though, quickly turned hostile shortly after they sat down in the Oval Office with journalists present. Zelensky, dressed in his usual dark long-sleeve shirt, sought to explain the history of the war with Russia, noting that it went back to 2014 when Moscow first seized Crimea, an occupied territory in eastern Ukraine. But Vance sharply interrupted and began assailing Zelensky. "I think it is disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office to try to litigate in front of the American media." He lectured, "You should be thanking Trump." He accused Zelensky of mounting a propaganda tour in the United States. "Do you think it is respectful to come to the Oval Office and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?" Zelensky tried to respond to the Vance assertions about manpower shortages in Ukraine and said that the United States could feel threatened by Russia someday. "You have a nice ocean and do not feel now, but you feel it in the future," he said. That triggered Trump, who cut him off. "Do not tell us what we are going to feel," he said, raising his voice. "You are not in a good position. You do not have the cards right now," he added. "You are gambling with World War III." Vance jumped back, "And have you said thank you once?" The Trump blow-up with Zelensky contrasts with his assessment of Putin, whom he has only praised since winning a second term. Just this week, Trump called Putin a very smart guy and a very cunning person. He said that he believes that Putin really wants peace, and added on Thursday that he will keep his word if a deal is reached despite multiple Russian violations of agreements in the past. While he has spoken with Putin by telephone, Trump has given little sense of how he expects to negotiate either a ceasefire or an enduring peace agreement. During the 2024 campaign, Trump promised to end the war within 24 hours, and to do so even before his inauguration, neither of which he actually did since taking office. Trump has demanded that Ukraine turn over some of its natural resources as payback for military aid provided under President Joseph R. Biden Jr. to defend itself against Russia. While Trump has falsely claimed that the United States has contributed $350 billion and Europe only $100 billion. In fact, according to the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, Europe has allocated $138 billion compared with $119 billion from the United States after the hostile exchanges in the Oval Office. Trump just issued a statement saying that he and Zelensky had a very meaningful meeting, but that he had determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved. Trump said Zelensky can come back when he is ready for peace. "I am standing outside the West Wing where the Zelensky car is waiting at the door. We expect him to leave soon." Left unclear is the fate of the minerals deal, but it does not seem like it is on at this point. Up until this point, almost every foreign leader visiting the White House has showered Trump with compliments rather than challenge him and risk an unpredictable decision on the global stage, like rescinding U.S. aid or imposing harsh tariffs. On this rare occasion, President Zelensky, the leader of a nation under attack from Russia, chose to not placate Trump, and Trump erupted earlier this morning. Republican and Democratic senators met with Zelensky, some posting smiling selfies with him, and some anticipating a signing ceremony for a mineral deal in a few hours. The contrast between that meeting and what transpired inside the Oval Office is a strikingly public display of the divide between the Trump approach to this war and the sentiment of many Republican defense hawks on Capitol Hill. Zelensky showed photographs of prisoners of war who had been abused in Russia, making a point that the war is about more than money to be made in mining. Zelensky is trying hard to include a prisoner exchange in any agreement.
One introduction. RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only for home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions. Yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree. But it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom. The Eco-Design Wood Stove and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View. Purple air. PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.